Hello, dear students. Welcome to EPG Patashala. My name is Raghavan and I am from the Center for Knowledge Analytics and Ontological Engineering at PES Institute of Technology, Bangalore. Today, we are going to look at the last and final module of the course on Knowledge Society. This particular module, I have named it as Information Society versus Knowledge Society. In fact, it could have been the very first module of this particular course. In a way, it sums up everything that we have talked so far. Let me briefly outline some of the objectives of this presentation. One of the main objectives of this particular module is to give you an idea of the subtle differences between a knowledge society and information society. We have noticed that throughout this particular course, we have kind of used these two terms, knowledge society and information society, as though they are synonyms. But in practice, in reality, there are subtle differences between the two, and that is one of the things that we need to understand very clearly at the end of this particular module. We will also look at the different facets of a knowledge society and what actually is needed to transit from whatever stage our society is to a knowledge society. Now, this particular part of the requirements to transit to a knowledge society is largely based on studies carried out by UNESCO and conclusions at the World Summit on Information Society, what is known as the WSIS. Let us begin by looking at evolution of human societies, because knowledge society is actually an evolution of human society. Any society is in fact made up of people who share some kind of social relationship with each other, people with common culture, people with some common purpose, and they are characterized. A society is actually characterized by interdependence of people who constitute that particular society. Tribal societies are among the earliest of human societies. Tribal societies were identified by a common territory, a common dialect. Usually, these tribal societies were referred to by a name, and they had a common culture. They were living very close to the physical environment that supported and determined their economic activity. The most important thing about these tribal societies were their needs were very, very limited, and they were essentially those who survived on hunting and food gathering. Next, we move to the agricultural societies. The development of agriculture altered the entire social structure. With agricultural societies began domestication of plants and animals, and this necessitated that people had to build shelters, and villages were built around these shelters. The agricultural society, or what is also known as the agrarian society, also saw the emergence of a range of artisans like weavers, potters, blacksmiths, etc. These societies continued for several centuries, we can say, but major changes were brought about in the societal structure by the Industrial Revolution. Now, some of the most important characteristics of the industrial society brought about by the Industrial Revolution are very large industries and large corporations came into existence. The industrial society was characterized by mass production of goods in the form of large plants and industries and factories. the industrial society was also marked by specialization and divided and grouped by occupational subcultures. Now, this was something that was actually very necessary because, one plant produced a huge volume of goods, and therefore it required different kinds of people with different kinds of specialization, and this naturally led to growth of different kinds of occupational subcultures. Some other very important traits and characteristics of the industrial society, as we all are aware, is its capitalism. Capitalism and the entrepreneur became very important aspects of the industrial society. Without that, the industrial society could not have grown. By mid-19th century, a major change happened in the industrial society in the sense that science and technology started impacting and shaping the industrial revolution in a big and major way. It transformed the kind of industries and the way things were produced, etc. And this particular phenomena intensified very much after the First World War, and nations started realizing that science and technology are extremely important components for growth and development economically. So we see from following this industrial revolution, later the mid-19th century, and more particularly after the World War, we see a close link getting established between economic growth and industrial development on the one hand, and science and technology on the other hand. Science and technology has from then on remained a major factor and an integral part of economic growth of all nations. Now, this we can easily visualize by looking at some simple facts. By the end of 19th century, in 1896, according to an estimate, there were only about 50,000 scientific researchers in the world. But by 2011, there were about 1,000 researchers per million inhabitants. A huge growth in the number of scientific researchers in the world. This shows the importance scientific research is attached in the economic growth of nations. So, following this, there were major changes in the place of science and technology. Now, we see a close relationship developing between science and technology and society at large. And there was growth of a culture of innovation. How do we apply science and technology for enhancing the quality of living? Surely the big science, as referred to by Derek Desolla Prize, had arrived by the Second World War. By 1970s, we see the emergence of another kind of society, because we see the beginning of the use of the term information age around 1970s. We were looking at development of terminology. As library and information professionals, most of us are only too familiar with some of the terms which we have used to refer to the explosion that took place in the 20th century. We coined the terms information explosion and knowledge explosion to characterize the phenomena of increased document output and increased research output. Sociologists and economists coined and brought into usage a number of terms, all of which are related to the notions of information society and knowledge society. The concept of information society emerged and evolved as a consequence of the recognition of the importance of information as a commodity, as something that can be a major factor in economic production. Today's world is an extremely complex one and is driven by information. A major component of effective management and problem solving in today's complex world is gathering, disseminating, and applying information. Now, in this process, when the society recognized this major change and the importance information plays, access to information and application of information plays in problem solving, several new terms emerged because people were primarily handling information. A large proportion of workforce, in fact, consisted of information workers referred to by various names known, for example, as white-collar workers, knowledge workers. The economy, which also was influenced so much by information, became dependent on information, was referred to as knowledge economy. Now, these are some of the important terms that came into usage after the 1970s, and the acceptance in the transition of societies from industrial society to information society is actually denoted by some of these changes. We can safely say that organizations and governments at all levels create information in a variety of forms and formats. There are large number of paper records, and today, with the advent of computers and information technology, a considerable amount of information by governments and organizations of all kinds is created in the form of electronic records, stored in different kinds of storage devices and in different formats. In addition, there are also a large number of relevant external sources of data and information. All these contain very valuable data and information which helps the process of problem solving and decision making. So, organizations have realized the importance of putting in place some kind of an effective mechanism to make use of information and information assets, because they have realized that using available information and information assets provides some kind of tactical advantage to an organization. We have in an earlier module looked at the importance of knowledge management for organization and how large organizations have put in place a system for managing enterprise knowledge for the benefit of their own organizations. Now, the recognition of this, that information is important for development, for economic growth, is probably one of the most important characteristics and traits of an information society. A major requirement of the information society is information literacy, which for some time was even being referred to as informacy. Information literacy essentially refers to the ability of an individual to use information technologies effectively to find and manage information, and the ability to critically evaluate and apply that information in problem solving. And information literacy is therefore gaining importance in a society's transition from an industrial society to information society. Broadly, information literacy includes the ability to recognize and articulate one's information need. We must first of all be able to recognize that what we need is some information to solve a particular kind of a problem, and we must be able to specifically articulate and tell the system what our information need is. Secondly, we need to identify, locate, and access relevant sources of information that will meet our information need. Third, we must be able to effectively use the information resources and apply the information that we gather from these information resources in problem solving. And most important of all is that we should be in a position to use information technology for all these processes. The characteristics of the new information society that emerged are explained by a number of different terms. For example, Daniel Bell and his followers used post-industrialism to refer to the characteristics of the emerging society. But the term post-industrial society was in fact used even in the first decade of the 20th century, second decade of the 20th century by Ananda Kumaraswamy. Manuel Castells, on the other hand, refers to the particular trait of information society in terms of informational mode of development. There are a number of theories of information society, and these have been grouped into a limited number of groups by Frank Webster. I have made a reference to a particular source here. I would suggest that you people look into this particular resource also. Frank Webster groups theories of information society into technological theories. The technological theories emphasize technological innovations brought about by information and communication technologies. Economic theories, on the other hand, focus on the importance of information for economic growth, information as a major economic factor in the development of a country, nation, society. The third group of information theory is what is known as occupational theory. Now, the occupational theory focuses on occupational changes, the kinds of changes the kinds of new jobs that have emerged because of information technology. And we know that a large number of different kinds of jobs have come up. The workplace has changed with requirements of new skills in the use of new technologies. So the occupational theory focuses primarily on the kind of occupational changes that have been brought about by information society. The spatial theory of information society emphasizes information networks, the connected world. And cultural theory of information society primarily focuses on the contemporary culture. Now, as we all know, the present day culture is dominated by social media and exchanges of messages and information using social media. I am sure that most of you have also been using Facebook and things like that. Dear students, by now it must be quite clear to you that a very important component of information society is information and communication technology. The emphasis in an information society is primarily on technology. Naturally, there are concerns that in an information society, the digital divide between different sections of the society could widen. The gap between the rich and the poor, developed and less developed countries could widen. Now, this will naturally result in deepening of the societal divide. Information society as an ideological construct is closely associated with globalization, and one of the principal aims of this being the establishment of an open, free and self-regulated global market. In other words, information society is seen by many to be driven purely by economic considerations. Now, there were concerns that the benefits of information society may not reach all countries or all communities, even within a country, if the digital divide is not adequately and properly bridged. The notion of knowledge society. We move now to the notion of knowledge society from information society, which emerged towards the end of the 20th century. Knowledge society tries to go beyond the economic dimension to include a social dimension also. This notion of knowledge society was embraced and emphasized by world bodies, primarily the UNESCO. As I said earlier, the most important difference between information society and knowledge society is that the emphasis in an information society is primarily on the use of technology, whereas the concept of knowledge societies includes a social dimension and emphasizes social, cultural, economic, political, and institutional transformation and a more pluralistic and developmental perspective. It tries to bring in all kinds of people, the ones that have not been reached by information technology alone, also into the scope of knowledge society. Knowledge in question is important not only for economic growth but also for empowering and developing all sectors of society. So, the recognition of this, that every individual in a society should be empowered with knowledge, is the most important difference between information societies and knowledge societies. Knowledge societies are more inclusive in their emphasis. The Civil Society Declaration perhaps best states the focus of knowledge societies. Societies that are people oriented, people centered, inclusive, and equitable. Societies in which everyone can freely create, access, utilize, share, and disseminate information and knowledge so that individuals, communities, and people are empowered to improve their quality of life and to achieve their full potential. There are, of course, many other definitions of knowledge society also. For example, some people look at knowledge society as a society that constantly develops new ideas, technologies, methods, products that are crucial for prosperity. The notion of knowledge society, as emphasized by UNESCO, recognizes the social tension between different sections of the society when access to and ability to use information technology are not widespread among all sections of a society. We have seen in a very detailed fashion what kinds of digital divide exist between different sections of society, between different countries. And this can lead to a divide and some sort of a social tension if it is allowed to persist. The knowledge society, in fact, focuses more on bridging this kind of a divide. In other words, the focus in moving towards a knowledge society is to enable full participation of all in societal development and building the capacity building of peoples of all strata of society. The goal is to support sustainable development, gender equality, protecting the rights of weaker nations and weaker sections of societies by more equitable distribution of and access to resources. How do we know that a society has transformed itself into a knowledge society? Perhaps today there are very few countries which can claim to be completely knowledge societies, going by the present day definition of what a knowledge society is. It is said that Sweden is among the top countries in the world in terms of transforming itself into a knowledge society. So, some of the organizations have tried to develop some sort of indicators, measures by which it is possible to assess whether a society is a knowledge society or at what stage it is in its transformation into a knowledge society. One of the important indicators is knowledge assets of a particular community, society, or nation. What kind of mechanisms are in place in that particular country, in that particular society for creating new knowledge assets? Now, this is something that is directly related to, for example, the R&D capabilities of a particular country. What kind of mechanisms a particular country has created in order to generate new knowledge. And the vision and foresightedness of a particular nation, country in following a developmental direction. That is, how committed a particular nation, its government, is to improving and providing good quality and safety of life to all its members. Some of the other very important indicators of knowledge society are the information and communication technology infrastructure that a country has built, the network infrastructure that is available for transmitting information, for exchange of information within a country, and the infrastructure for accessing information and knowledge resources that are available in a particular country. Knowledge society versus information society also means that we need to look at some of the other differences between these two. From our point of view, the difference is in the emphasis. Although several different perspectives, versions, and viewpoints are doing rounds and are being debated. In civil society's view, the knowledge divide separating countries with adequate R&D potential, good education system, and a range of public learning and cultural facilities from nations with very deficient education systems and research institutions, which are starved of resources. For example, developing countries such as India, we cannot compare ourselves in terms of R&D infrastructure or higher education infrastructure with the more advanced countries. So naturally, we lag behind in terms of, we are at a disadvantage when it comes to transforming ourselves into a knowledge society. And developing countries such as India also have one other major problem to tackle as a result of brain drain, which is again a major barrier, acts as a major barrier in transforming our society into a knowledge society. We still do not have the kind of infrastructure that is required. Many of the countries don't have. Even as late as in 2014, only 42% of the world's population had access to internet. Living out of internet, nearly 58% of the world's population. Even those with access are often constrained by technical problems, language barriers, lack of skills to make use of the technology, and many other social and policy factors from accessing information and knowledge. We will finally look at some necessary prerequisites for the development of knowledge societies. One, we need to have mechanisms in place to enable people to access information. And more importantly, we also need to have information relevant to the community that we are serving. For example, in a country like ours, relevant information in the languages and scripts understandable to the members of the society is a major prerequisite. Governments and other public bodies at all levels, and even private organizations, have to play their part in generating information resources in the local languages and scripts. To emphasize the importance of knowledge society and its focus, several terms are used by world bodies, United Nations, Educational, UNESCO. These include, for example, access to information, which we have talked about, right to information, perhaps most of you are aware that we have enacted, several states in India have enacted the Right to Information Act, and there was one particular module which looked at this in this particular course. The right to know, freedom of information, these are some of the terms that are used, and these collectively emphasize the requirements of a knowledge society. Again, it is difficult in a country like India to see in the near future a situation where every household will have access to internet, and this is where libraries, particularly public libraries, will have a very important role to play in transition to knowledge society. Only a library, public library, can provide access to resources on the internet to a large number of people. It is difficult for you and for me to imagine any other kind of society which can provide access to information as a public library can do. It's appropriate for me to conclude this presentation with listing the proposal made by UNESCO for governments to transit to a knowledge society. I hope you will also look into the original document referred to here, which is easily available on the internet. Now, this actually is a call by UNESCO on governments, what they should do in order to move towards a knowledge society. They should foster universal, open, affordable, and unfettered access to information and knowledge to narrow the digital divide. Nations should adopt information and communication technology policies that enhance access and ensure openness, transparency, accountability, multilingualism, and inclusiveness. Particularly, persons with disabilities and marginalized sections of the society should be covered. UNESCO also calls upon nations to support innovative approaches to facilitate citizen involvement in the development and monitoring of sustainable development goals, and promote universal access to information and knowledge and ICTs by encouraging the creation of public access facilities. Public access facilities for us are primarily public libraries. UNESCO also calls upon nations to reaffirm the important contribution made by open access to scholarly, scientific, and journalistic information, open government data, and explore the potential of the internet for cultural diversity. So, let me summarize what we have learned in this particular module. In this module, we began by looking at the evolution of the society, tracing the principal traits as we traverse from agricultural societies to knowledge societies. We have also looked at some of the important differences between information societies and knowledge societies. Finally, we have briefly discussed some of the requirements as identified by UNESCO and the World Summit on Information Society for the transition to knowledge society to take place. As library and information science professionals, it is important for you to understand the role libraries need to play in this transition. Thank you.